Hello, everyone, and welcome to CSOs on the Go, where we're keeping you in the know. I'm CSO Aisha.
And I am CSO Vivian.
And on today's adventure, we'll be interviewing Jordan Rose, the executive co-director at Science ATL. Hello.
Hi,
Hello.
Jordan. Welcome. Thank you
Thank
for coming so we can interview you.
My pleasure. It's great to be here. Well, it's great to be here, but also talking
Yeah.
to you.
Great. We're so thankful for Zoom and technology these days. But to get started, our first question, probably really simple. Um, do you mind telling us a little bit about your background, where you grew up and what led you to the realm of science?
Absolutely. So I grew up in New York, Long Island, and I came to Atlanta in 1996, just after the Olympics. And I came here for college. I went to Emory University, and I studied neuroscience there. So I always had a huge place in my heart for science and for medicine. Actually, I wanted to pursue a career in medicine and become a some kind of physician. I wasn't sure, and I applied to medical school. I got into medical school, and somewhere along my journey, I decided not to go to medical school, and that was a real pivot in my career journey. I always thought I wanted to be a physician, and I kind of always heard from, I don't know, my parents and my family that was great, and they encouraged me in that direction. But I never really fully examined that path myself. I decided to take a year off between college and medical school. I got a deferment for a year, so I took a year off, and I took a job working actually at Emory University as a program coordinator for a neuroscience research center. And my job was to work with schools and students and teachers, K-12 schools, and engage them in neuroscience. So what we ran some summer camps for middle school students. We did some mentored research opportunities for teachers, and we organized a big brain expo for the public, and invited school groups and families to come and talk to researchers and learn a little bit more about neuroscience. And that was like my first foray into teaching or engaging the public in science. And that's why I really fell in love with that kind of opportunity. I loved serving as this kind of bridge between university research and K-12 students and teachers. And I started to recognize this passion that I had about public education, and so that was sort of the first step away from medicine and into a career in science education. Another step was I was doing some like phone interviews and discussions with physicians at the time. And that was when HMOs and managed healthcare really started to change the way that medicine was being practiced. And a lot of physicians were really unhappy in their jobs. They couldn't spend as much time with their patients. They had some more paperwork to fill out, and it was becoming much more, business focused than it had been in the past, which is a good thing in many ways. But a lot of physicians were unhappy, and so I asked myself, do I really want to pursue a career? Do I want to go to school for 4 more years and then maybe 3 to 5 to 7 additional years of training just to be miserable in my job? So that also turned me away from medicine. And I had this great opportunity. The 1 year off that I took doing this work at the research center, it they had funding for 5 more years, and then a chance to renew for another 5 years. So I had a career path ahead of me in the immediate future, and some stability. So I said thank you, but no thank you to my medical school acceptance, and started doing more work in public education in university school partnerships. And I did that for 15 years at Emory University. I worked at the Center for Science Education, and I worked on a number of different grant-funded projects. helping graduate students and faculty to teach science in more exciting and engaging ways by partnering them with teachers, so that the graduate students could learn from the teachers, from the K-12 teachers, how to assess student learning, how to engage students in the classroom, and how to teach science in more exciting ways than just clicking through a PowerPoint. Because that's how science is taught at the university level. So we wanted to make the next generation of university professors have much better engagement and teaching skills. And so that was a huge NSF, National Science Foundation funded project that lasted for 10 years. And we had 96 graduate students go through that program in the 10 years. It was so much fun because I got to work with students like yourselves, teachers like Ms. Jones, administrators from schools. I got to work with graduate students who were studying all sorts of amazing projects, and faculty at the university. So it was a real diverse group of people that I got to work with, which was really exciting. And it was also a cool team that I worked with at the Center for Science Education. Everyone was engaging students in some way, whether they were college students or pre-college students in science, and getting people excited about science and helping them to pursue careers in the sciences. While I was at Emory, I met a couple other people, Mesa Salaita and Sarah Peterson, who were also in similar kinds of education roles. And together we came up with this idea to have an Atlanta Science Festival. And that was in 2011. We were sitting at a coffee shop, and Mesa had just come back from San Diego, where she saw the Bay Area Science Festival. And she was so excited and thought that we really needed to have an event like that here in Atlanta, because Atlanta is this huge science and technology city, as you guys know. There are all these huge companies that are hiring in STEM fields. There are great universities for training in sciences. And, if you weren't in the sciences, maybe you didn't think about Atlanta in that way. You thought about the music industry or the movie industry or the traffic or the pollution or anything like that, right? But science was not on the top of the list of like Atlanta things. So we really wanted to lift that up and help people who are in Metro Atlanta really become proud of their city as this nexus of science and technology. So we started that work, which involved bringing 100 different community partners together to create a 2-week science festival with 150 different events at 80 different venues, reaching 60,000 people a year. Eventually, it didn't start that way, but eventually we got there. And so in 2011, we started figuring that out, but we didn't have the first festival until 2014. And in just a couple months, in March of 2021, we will have the 8th annual Atlanta Science Festival. Woo! And another piece of that story is that in 2018, we changed the name of our organization from Atlanta Science Festival to Science ATL. Atlanta Science Festival was a nonprofit founded in 2014. And it was independent of Emory. Emory sort of helped grow it, but we also partnered very strongly with Georgia Tech and with the Metro Atlanta Chamber. And those 3 organizations were sort of the founding core of Atlanta Science Festival. So 2014, we became an independent nonprofit. And then in 2018, we changed our name to Science ATL. And that really recognized the expansion of our programming beyond just the 2-week festival in March. We started running the Georgia Chief Science Officers program, which you are well familiar with. And we have a Science Communication Fellowship program for graduate students, teaching them how to engage the public in more exciting ways and share their research with the public. And we run a race through space, which is a 5K where you start at the sun and run to Neptune. Our most recent version is actually a virtual, it's an app-based experience where you can run past a whole bunch of galaxies and from Earth all the way to the M87 black hole, which is at the center of the Milky Way. So that's kind of been my career. I skipped out one small foray as the executive director of Georgia Georgia Bio Ed, which is the education arm of Georgia Bio. But that was a short stint, 18 months of that, somewhere in the middle in 2015 or so. But that's been my career journey, and that's what has brought me here today.
Wow. I'm not gonna lie, I tried the Race to Space application and it was stellar. It was really nice.
Stellar. That is a good word. Good
Oh, I
adjective.
didn't do that on purpose. Oh my gosh. Wow. Like
My
you've done
whole
a lot
family
of
did it as well. It was awesome.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I mean, I did it. I listened to it on a hike. I didn't run it because I don't run, but I did it. I did it on a hike with my son, and it was really it's really amusing. It's a lot of fun.
So the first time I met you was before I even became a CSO. I was a freshman at South Cobb High School, and Vivian was a sophomore. And you came to our school and you talked on a panel and you gave us books. And the books were for the Atlanta Science Festival. We were like, oh, this is cool. We should go. And this was like before, yeah, but it wasn't that book. That
I think I
was
still
last
have
year's
mine.
book. Yeah, it was really cool. And we were like, wow, that's so cool. We should go. But I think I went because we had a Science Olympiad event at Georgia Tech and we went to the beeswax one, I think. It was really cool. And I still have my lip balm.
Nice. That's great. Yeah, I think we had that was an event at Georgia Tech?
Yeah, we had like we went to like the building, this is getting off topic, but like the building where they host all the outside community things. It's like I forgot the name, but it's like really cool. Like they always hold it there. Like because I had my robotics competition there also. So like they always do community events there. So like we walked from there to like this building and it has a hive. It has a community hive on
Right,
the
on the
top of
roof?
the roof. Yeah.
Yeah. So you must have met Dr. Jennifer Levy, who's one of the professors there in the biology department at Georgia Tech. She's amazing, a great communicator, and a real inspiration to many students. She's also pretty cool because she's the lead singer of a punk rock science band. If you didn't know that, look them up. Their name is Leucine Zipper and the Zinc Fingers. And they've performed live at the Science Festival several years.
That is really like, wow. Science, like it's not one thing, it's a whole atmosphere, a whole galaxy, if you will.
Scientists are people too. They have other interests like music and sports and all that stuff too.
That's really cool. But the next time we met you, it was at our introduction to CSO, or Chief Science Officer. And if the viewers don't know what a CSO is a Chief Science Officer, and essentially what we are STEM ambassadors for our community, and yearly we create action plans to help our peers in our community in different shapes, ways, or forms. This is our second year as CSOs, and we've accomplished a lot, some would say. And sometimes I feel like we haven't done enough because there's so many things that we could do. And like the opportunities are like immense.
Right.
Like right now, we have a lot of huge things in the works. And it's like, wow, we just did that as students, as individuals. And freshman year, I didn't even know what a CSO was. And now I think it's the next big thing. Like we could be the next Girl Scouts. Who knows?
Oh, yeah. I mean, there are CSOs all over the world. There's your group, which is in Georgia. There's a group in Arizona, in Michigan, in Pennsylvania, and Florida, Texas, as well as Mexico and Kenya and Colombia and Kuwait. So there, it's a pretty amazing network. And even after you graduate, for example, if you end up going to school in Texas, we could connect you with the Texas CSO alumni network and you could do some work there. I mean, that would be kind of cool. So the opportunities are, as you say, limitless.
Well, yes, so that is a little briefing on what CSO is, but Jordan, you are very heavily involved in the Georgia chapter of CSO. So do you want to talk a little bit about how that chapter was formed and how you think we personally have impacted our community or Georgia.
Yeah, the Georgia CSO program has been a real labor of love for me. I got to witness the first cohort of chief science officers in Arizona. That must have been in 2015 or 2016, something like that. And I was invited out to witness their leadership training institute, and I was just so blown away by how this program empowered young people to make a difference in their community using STEM. And I really wanted to bring it to Georgia. And it took me a couple of years to figure out how to do that, how to get the sponsorship dollars that I needed to make it happen. But we were able to finally make it happen in 2018, thanks to some amazing funding from the Arthur Blank Foundation and several other sponsors. And it's really been a joy to just watch people like yourselves who have so much passion and so much heart for improving their community, for helping their peers to really learn about STEM and to love STEM just like you do. It takes an ambassador like you to really make a difference. I can talk all I want about STEM and how I love science, but it really doesn't make as strong an impact in young people as it does when that message comes from young people. So I really appreciate the work that you do and the challenges that you face at stepping into that role as a leader. It can be hard. It can be hard to do public speaking. It can be hard to capture the attention of your peers and really have them listen. But there's so much opportunity for you to grow personally and for you to make a difference in your community. And that's what I love about the CSO program. It's also not something where the adults tell the kids what to do, right? I like that it's this opportunity that sort of sets the stage for you to come up with a challenge that you want to address and to address it with a solution, a creative solution. And so I particularly love what the two of you have done at South Cobb High School, building this collection of STEM professional interviews and not just having events, but recording and documenting those conversations so that others can see it at other times in the future. It can live on the web, and you can really share it and pass it down. So you're really creating a sustainable legacy for your school of STEM professionals who are interested in sharing their passions and inspiring your peers to pursue those pathways.
Thank you so much for those words, Jordan, and thank you for even, going out of your way to find, people to support and kind of build up Georgia CSO, because I know personally that a lot of opportunities are coming out of Georgia CSO for me, and as well as for Aishat in the future. And I also agree that I am so happy that we are able to record these and kind of, let it live on the web, as you said, because many people, they don't really realize that STEM is not just going to medical school. Like you said, you had the opportunity, but you were given something else that you maybe felt you would like better, or that you would be able to make a bigger impact with. And with the past people that we've interviewed, they're engineers, chemical engineers, mathematicians. They're all involved in STEM and they're enjoying it. They're not all physicians, but everyone has their own path. And I think this will help our peers understand that more. So thank you.
I would also like to say, the advisors really help drive the program, because, if I didn't know Miss Jones, I don't know, would I be who I am today? It's, really something different. Go Miss Jones! Because, it's, wow. Majority of, my high school career, wow. She gave me the keys to drive. Not literally, figuratively, my career is a car. Yeah.
You know you
But
want to be a race car driver.
because like high school, it just goes by so fast, and like a lot of people, they're like looking outside the window to see how others are driving, or like what type of car do they have. But like it's honestly what you make of your own car. And like I know this is like kind of cheesy, but like it just helps people visualize it in a different way. Like not everyone follows the laws of the road. Does that make sense? The laws of the road. Like everyone, like although it's kind of illegal, but figuratively, like people make up their own designs. Like you design your car in your own way. And like everyone has roadblocks. We all come to a stop sign. We all get a red light. Sometimes we get a yellow light. And sometimes the yellow light turns into a green light, I think. It's the other
I
way.
agree.
It's the other
I
way
love
around.
this
But we
analogy.
understand. We understand. It's a
Yeah.
community effort. And
And sometimes you make modifications to your vehicle to improve certain aspects of it. You get to choose not only where you go, but who's sitting in the car with you, right? Who are you going to take along
exactly.
with you on your
Yep.
journey?
You also get to choose whether or not you stop at the yellow light or you continue, you move on.
You're still stuck with me. I'm the wheels of the car, so y'all are stuck with me either way. I'm just tagging along for the ride.
Yeah, she called shotgun. This is like
And,
I
and
don't
and you
know.
don't always have to follow the GPS directions, right? Don't always follow what Waze or Google Maps tells you. Sometimes you got to figure it out yourself.
They will always say
Exactly.
recalculating, don't worry.
Great analogy.
But getting back on the road, you know, we're we're going down the road. 10 years down the road. Where do you see Georgia CSO? Like how big do you think we would have flourished? Like do you see the alumni network getting like closer together and like helping the rising CSOs? Like where do you see us going?
Great questions. So I think this past year has been, obviously a crazy year for many reasons. But we've had to change our program model from largely in-person and infrequent in-person meetings to more frequent but virtual meetings with the CSOs. And I feel like that has allowed for a number of really great benefits to come out that were maybe not expected. One of which is I think that the advisors and the program staff have gotten to know the participants in much deeper ways because we see you more often. Unfortunately, I can't say that because I haven't been a part of that. I've kind of passed the reins off to Eric and AJ. So but I think that they have gotten to know the students a little bit better, and the students maybe have gotten to know each other a little bit better. I'm guessing that you can say more, so that's a good benefit. The other benefit is that it's given us a way to practice this way of implementing the program that is virtual, that can much more easily allow us to scale up and allow more students to participate in the program. Because in the 3 years of the CSO program, we've been limited to the Metro Atlanta area. And of course, there are tons of students here and lots of people who can still participate in the Metro Atlanta area. But in order to really get to our vision of being a statewide program, it was going to be a lot more challenging to do that with in-person programming than it will be with virtual programming. And so I see that as the direction of growth for chief science officers in Georgia. We will do a lot more with Zoom, but when things become safe again, we'll still be able to plan for opportunities for us to get together physically and explore STEM companies and do those tours like we have been in the past. We're working on a partnership with an organization called 21st Century Leaders. And so this is not something that is really public yet because it hasn't happened, but we're in the planning stages because 21st Century Leaders has an online leadership curriculum. And so we hope to work with them to create a parallel track in STEM leadership. And so that would be a way for both chief science officers and students who are interested in this who are not chief science officers to really get that STEM leadership experience in a virtual way, in a somewhat self-directed way, and to really expand the way that students think of themselves as changing the world. You know, right? Like you don't just have to be a physician to be a STEM professional, right? So there are all these different career opportunities that are hard to know what's out there unless you go through some sort of program that opens your eyes to those things. But also, we're trying to sort of change the perception of STEM professionals or of STEM careers as shy, solitary, you know, in front of your computer or at your lab bench. But really, STEM is all about making the world a better place. You know, whether it's, you know, a new invention to solve a problem, or doing basic research to identify drugs or vaccines that can help keep everyone healthy. And so if we can help to provide some more leadership skills and opportunities for students who are interested in STEM, then I hope that they will become better able to communicate with the public about those challenges that we're facing, and better able to share the solutions to those challenges and questions. I want all of our future STEM professionals to be comfortable and confident sharing their good work with the public. And I want all of the people, regardless of whether or not you become a STEM professional, I want everyone to be science literate, to be scientifically literate, right? Which means that you can evaluate something based on evidence. You can make a decision based on evidence. And with the vast information that is available to us, you know, on our phones and on the web, we need to be much more literate in terms of assessing what information is valid, you know, what sources are valid, because not every source is a valid source. Just because you can put your voice out there doesn't mean you have a valid thing to say. So we need people who are able to discern between good information and bad information, and be able to synthesize that information and communicate it back out to others. So I want STEM professionals who can do that.
Yes, I think that is incredibly important, especially during today's day. We have the internet. Anything can be said, and you know, it's kind of sad how much, you know, is said and how much of that is even, you know, believed without assessing it, like you said, scientifically. You know, not everyone has to know rocket science, but there are some basics that I think is really important, and I think every student should be able to learn that. And yes, I am so excited to see where CSO goes within the next 10 years. I guess we sit back, watch, continue to do what we're doing, and we hope that you are still really active along with us in the long run. So our next question for you is, well, first of all, we noticed that you earned a master's in public health prevention science. Is that correct?
That's right.
So we're just curious if you had anything to do with or any involvement in, you know, helping the Atlanta community, well, with amongst the COVID-19 pandemic, you know, any prevention, or what was your involvement?
Yeah. So I earned my master's in public health while I was working at Emory. There was a great program that allowed me to continue full-time employment, but also take classes in the evening. And it was a virtual program, a sort of an e-learning, a distance learning program is what it was called. And we did get together a couple times at the beginning and the end of every semester, but everything else was virtual. And I did that because my passion for health continued. Beyond, you know, even though I said no to medical school, I was still really strongly interested in health. But this degree program was not just in public health, but it was in public health education in what they called prevention science. And that means, how do you communicate to the public about the risks, and how do you convince people that you need to follow, you know, certain behaviors or activities that will improve your health, and discontinue others that will, you know, put your health at risk. And so that was really interesting to me. And I thought maybe I would pursue a career in public health. So I had this sort of, from the start, this interest in health and science. Then I started to explore this interest in education with this job that I took right out of college. And this public health degree really seemed to combine those in interesting ways. I ended up never pursuing a career in public health, but it's always been, of interest to me. And I've always had these great opportunities here in science education, which is ancillary to, but not exactly public health. And so other than providing opportunities, which we are pursuing now for events, public science events that are connected to public health, I don't personally do anything related to COVID or the vaccine. But we are working to bring both some adult events and family events related to improving vaccine confidence, especially among populations where there's mistrust for science or for healthcare, mistrust of vaccines, and it's particularly in those communities that are hardest hit by COVID-19. And those would be Black and Latino communities here in Atlanta. So we don't quite have all the pieces in place just yet, but we're working on, we've got some contacts and we're having conversations to figure out how we can have those kinds of events during the Atlanta Science Festival this year.
Actually, I was going to ask you the last question of the interview, but I'm kind of curious, how will the Atlanta Science Festival be run or ran? I think it's run this year.
Yeah, it's going to be different. So in a typical year, we have 120 events at 80 different venues. They're all in-person events, all interactive, hands-on, engaging events. Plus, we have a big expo at Piedmont Park with 30,000 people and hands-on activities. So this year, the festival will still be 2 weeks, but we'll only have about 50 or 60 different events. The great majority of those events will be virtual. And so we'll have a virtual online platform where you can tune in to those events. Some events will be things you can do at home asynchronously. So it won't be a specific event, but it'll be an activity that you can do at home. For example, there's going to be a middle school grade level air quality challenge. There's going to be something called the Atlanta 40, which is a micro conservation journey where you learn about the 40 different species that are really important in Metro Atlanta. And one at a time, you learn about that species, and then you do a micro conservation activity, like just a mini activity to learn more about it or to help conserve that particular species. And then you move on to the next one. And so it's like a journey that you go on. And then there'll be the other events, probably just a handful of events that are in person, but outdoors and socially distant, and masks are mandatory. So all that information gets released on February 13th to the public. Right now it's January. We're still getting all the details in place and getting the schedule set up, but everything goes live on February 13th, and then the festival itself starts on March 13th.
Well, that's so great. I'm really glad that we're taking time to make precautions and, making sure everything is safe and that we can do everything and still learn all at the same time. So we are excited. You all heard that March 13th is the beginning of Atlanta Science Festival. We're very excited and we hope that you'll be in attendance. For our last question for you, Jordan, if you had any piece of advice to give to me and my peers and anyone listening, what would it be?
I think, I don't know, one of the most practical pieces of advice that I tend to give to high school students is about forming relationships with adults, adults of influence. And that's important because in order for you to progress to the next stages of your life, college, graduate school, a job, whatever it may be, you need recommendation letters, you need support, you need connections, you need a network, and adults in your life have those connections. And so that isn't to say that you need adults to follow your dreams, but they will help you. And so as soon as possible, start developing a relationship with a mentor who is an adult, who can make those connections for you and open those doors for you. A lot of the opportunities in this world are closed, right? They're behind a door that is locked, that you cannot access unless someone who has the key can open that door for you. And so people like Miss Jones, people like myself, we know people, we have connections, and those personal and professional connections can benefit you. So instead of waiting until May of your senior year to ask for a recommendation letter, and have the teacher or the community member, wonder what they're going to write about you in their recommendation letter, start early. Have coffee. Well, okay, in this world, have a Zoom call with them, and get to know them, and ensure that they get to know you and what your passions are and what makes you tick and what you're scared about in your career or your future, and develop that relationship, because those mentors will make your dreams possible. They won't succeed for you, but they'll open the door so that you can succeed.
I think that really speaks true to even the CSO program helps students in 6th grade get ahead of that, because your advisors and the people you meet along the way, they're really here for you. They're here to watch your movie. They're eating their popcorn. They're rooting for you. You're the main character. Get the job. Get the goal. Get the bag. Get the bread. Period. Yeah. Even if you're shy, take some time to work on it, but don't ever be too shy to be oh, they're never gonna believe in me, they're not gonna help me, I'm not even sure if I could do it. Honestly, look at me. I did not think I could be where I am right now. I am a mess sometimes, and we're all a mess sometimes, but our mentors and advisors are here to help us clean up our mess and get it all together and wrap it up with a bow on top. Thank you so much, Jordan, for coming to talk to us. And thank you so much for giving us all the support you do through your networks and all your connections. And thank you for being you.
We appreciate it. Thank you.
It's my pleasure to be here and to talk with you about all this stuff. It's as you can see from my career path, I'm really happy that I followed my passion for science education rather than pursuing a career in medicine. And I want to also encourage you to keep working to find your passion, because what your passion is right now may not be what your passion is 4 years from now. And that's okay. Nobody, no matter what you hear, nobody has a linear career path where they decide at age 7 what they're going to be and follow and become that. Right? There are always bumps in the road. There are always things in your way. So just keep asking yourself and keep trusting yourself and following your passions. Thanks for letting me share those things with you guys, and really good to see you, even if it is two-dimensionally.
That's the end of our adventure today. Thank you for listening to our show, CSOs on the Go, and we'll keep you more in the know. Bye.